Hello everyone. I am doing some color therapy today. I was grid journaling and I wanted to do some color combinations with purple. And I was curious about how many different kinds of supplies I had in purple. And so I gathered and collected anything I could find that was purple. So this is what I have. And I'm going to do some little swatching, I suppose, just so I can see what kind of color I actually do have. And at the end, I am going to use some acrylic paint and mix some different purples. So these are pens. I've got gel pens and Sharpies and all of those kinds of things. And I have quite a few. Purple is my favorite color, so I have a lot. And to save time, I went ahead and doodled with each of those colors. You can tell each one of them is slightly different than the other, which I think is pretty cool. I actually found a couple that were almost dead. I'm probably dead now. Had them for a long, long time. So that's all I am going to do today. I am just messing around with purple. So here's the pens and markers. And I'm going to go to wax crayons. And I'm just going to do the same thing. Now, if I was smart, I would have labeled each one so that when I need to find that color, I can figure out what it is and find it again. But of course, I'm not that smart. I will just have to guess and figure out what is what. So these are most of these are Crayola wax crayons. They are my purple ones. Bunch of different colors in those as well. I also have this twistable. Had that for a long, long time. Ooh, that's a nice color. All right. So let me get into some of the other things I have. Put those to the side so I know I've done them. I have got some soft pastels. These are Diane Townsend. I got them at Blick. They're kind of on the expensive side. I just got a couple colors because I was curious about them. I don't know if they're water soluble or not, but they've got some great color. I've got two different purples. And actually, they are very soft and crumbly. Let me just do an experiment. Put some of that down. Wet my finger and see what happens when I add. Oh, that makes it really cool. So it does work with a little bit of water. So they are kind of water soluble. All right. Here is another one I got at Blick. It's Blick Pastel. I don't know if these are water soluble, but again, they're kind of like chalk. Very soft and crumbly. Let me see if that one is water soluble. A little bit of water. Well, it kind of is. See how that dries. All right. Here's another one. This is an oil pastel, but it is a water-soluble oil pastel. It's Portfolio. I really like these. They're very creamy. There it is with no water, and let me put another dot here. That one got a little bit of blue on it. And put some water so I can see the difference. That one's not going to be really accurate because there was a bit of blue smudge on that one. All right, so here are some gelatos. These are also water soluble. We do 2 dots, a little bit of water, and let me do the other color. Don't have very many gelatos, so that's an interesting purple. Okay, let me put those to the side. All right. I have some color sticks. This one is a sparkle. It is a watercolor crayon. And there it is. These have mica or something in them, so they're sparkly. Glittery. I like the shimmer. Let me put that out so I remember to do that one. This one is Recollections. I'm not sure if this one has shimmer to it or if it's just plain color. There it is with and without water. This one's Crayola. Ooh, that's a dark purple. That one's nice. This one is Color Sticks from Elmer's. Another dark one. Here's a Sparkle watercolor. I think it's the same brand. Nope. Same brand as that. Sparkle must be the brand. Should have put those together. It's a different color. Like that. And here's another Elmer's color stick in a plum purple. Ooh, that one's nice. And here is Distress Crayons from Tim Holtz. Had these for a long time and not really used them. I love how all of them are really a different color. That's more of a pink. I also have a Stabilo Woody in purple. I only have one of those. It is also water soluble. It's not very purple, it's more pink. Still a cool color. And then I've got some Neo Color 2s. These are water-soluble crayons. And they're the 2s. The 1s are not water-soluble. They're just regular crayons. So you need Neo Color 2s. Let me just put the dots down. That must be the same color. Don't have the label on it anymore because I was using it for its side. And then I'll put the water on it after I put the color on. And that one looks a lot like that one, so I'm not going to do that one. Yeah, I think that's the same color. That's really pink. All right. And then I've got some brush pens. This is a mermaid marker. I had to have them when they first came out. They are a water pen, a water brush with inks in them. And of course I had to have them, but I didn't use them. This one is Recollections. Nope, it's Crayola. It is also just a water brush. It's a really deep purple. That's a nice one. Here's Art 101 Creative Tools. I'm not sure where I got these watercolor brush pens. And this is from the same set, so they're two different colors. Ooh, that's a interesting purple. All right. So that is all of those. And then I'm going to get into watercolor pencils. I'm not sure what brand this is. And I don't even know if it is a watercolor pencil. It might just be a colored pencil. I don't have very many of those left. I think that's just a colored pencil. But it's a nice silver purple. Ugh. So I'm just going to put it in there because it's not water soluble. I have watercolor pencils. And the purple one is right here. That's the dry one. We'll put some water with that one. Ooh, that's nice. And then I have some scribble sticks. It's one of those I think I got for my birthday too. And I don't think I've used them. I might have tested them once, but never used them. And I'm hoping, doing these grid journaling, that I'll get my stuff out and use some of this stuff that I've had for such a long time. It's always fun to use your supplies. A little bit of purple, or a little bit of water on that, and that's a really pinky purple too. All right, so that is watercolor pencils, sticks, and stuff like that. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to put, I was going to go into the watercolors, but let me, since I've got a little bit of space, I've got some ink pads, and I've had these for a very, very long time. Most of them I've had since 2003. I'm surprised they still work. I'm very surprised they still have any ink in them at all. But let me just put them down here. because I have a little space on this paper. Now, if I was smart, I'd have this someplace so that I can use it for reference, but like I said, I didn't write down everything, and so I'll just have to figure it out later. So I've got a bunch of different brands of ink pads. And I'll definitely know which ones the ink pads are. And I am very surprised that these still work, that they have any color to them at all. They are so old. Some of these little ones. These vivid ones are really, really vivid and really a wonderful color. They're just gorgeous color. That is, I think that's my favorite purple. Favorite. Trying to clean this off, but and there's another vivid purple, violet mist, and plum. Ooh, that's a dark. That's nice. That one's really cool too. Distress ink. And the Distress Oxide is my last one. What a wonderful color. All right. All right, so those are my ink pads. And I finished this paper. Let me get the inks out of the way. So I have some room to mess around. All right. So, very interesting to see all the different purples. And we're just getting started. So, I did the watercolors ahead of time because I have a ton of sets, and of course they either have one or two purples in them, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time doing them, so I did them ahead of time. I've got Jane Davenport, and I'm not sure which one is which. I do believe the Jane Davenport is that really dark purple. I've got Dollar Tree, which is one of these light ones that don't work very well. I've got metallic and pearlescent ones. So I've got quite a few different sets of watercolor, and that's what I have. This one here, you see it's got a little bit of gold to it. It is Tattered Angels Shimmers watercolor. And I got this quite a while ago. It's got the mica or the the shimmer is in the bottom. You got to shake it all up. And then when you put it down, it's got this gold tint to it. Very cool stuff. And then I also have this Creative Gallery ink in purple, and it's also got gold in it, so you've got to shake it up. I believe I got this at Five Below. Shake it up so that the gold goes in there, and it's more of a silver for that one, but it's still pretty cool. I also have Twinkling H2Os. Now these I've had forever. I started getting them when they first started coming out, 2003, 4, something like that. They are mica watercolors. They are very pigmented. And that's what these three here are. I have got so many colors of these. You activate them, you take the lid off of them, you put some water in, wait for maybe 10 minutes so that they get all juicy and nice, and then you use a brush to brush them on. And I only did 3 of them because I have so many of them, I could fill up the whole page. But the shimmer on these are really, really cool. And they've got so many different colors. So that is that. And I leave the lid off of them until they dry completely because they glue themselves shut if you don't. Here's a tube of purple. And I think that was that one. So that's just a watercolor. And this is Inka Gold. Now, Inka Gold is really expensive nowadays. I got it when it was fairly new, I think. And I've got some different colors. The trick of this is do not touch the paint. There have been a lot of people who complain about them molding. So I always use a palette knife and just take out a little bit of what I want to use. I leave a baby wipe in there. If it's really dry, you can add a little bit of water, let the water set in the pot, and it will reactivate it's water soluble, and it has great, great, great color to it. So I'm not going to mess around with that. I guess I could show you a little tiny bit, add some water to that. And it's really dry, so it's going to need to soak that in, all the water in, and it's really shimmery stuff. So Inka Gold is famous for drying quickly, and once it's dry, I did a little test here. Once it's dry, you are supposed to be able to shine it up. It's a wax-based paint, and so when it's dry, you can shine it up, I suppose. Maybe you need to put more stuff on it. It does go on metal and wood. Fast-drying metal gloss paint. It's really beautiful colors. I've loved all the colors. This is just painting it on, and this was adding a little bit of water. And this was cleaning my brush off. So it really is pretty cool. And that's with just a whole lot of water to it. Really cool stuff. Don't touch it with your fingers. It will mold. I was always very careful with mine, and so I still have all of mine, and I will be getting them out and doing some grid journaling with this really cool stuff. You can use it just like paint, stencil with it, use a brush or whatever. All right. So that is the watercolors, and I think I've talked about all of them. So here's the acrylic paints that I have in purple. Get this stuff out of the way. And I'll do some mixing here later. So I've got dark to light. It is my favorite color, so I have quite a few of them. Different brands and such. I think I got this one at Dollar Tree. So I'll just do some swatching of the ones I have here. I'll just do it that way so I'm not messing up brushes and stuff. Okay, have to use the other hand. Okay, so that's that one. Enamels, almost gone. I'm just going to leave it real thick so I know what color the paint really is. Paper towel over here for my fingers. All right. And I haven't used paint in a while either, so a lot of them they have the film on them. That's Deco Art Purple Passion. Here's Apple Barrel, Wild Grapes. Ooh. And like I said, if I was smart, I would be writing these down. But what I'm going to do is when I'm trying to get a color combination done, I'm going to know which ones are watercolors and which ones are acrylic and which ones are pens, and I'll be able to narrow it down and find them, and I'll just do tests as I'm trying to look at them. The challenge is going to be the sparkling H2Os, because I have so many of those, but I can see the color through the plastic, so I can tell if it's dark or light or if it's purple at all. Here's an Apple Barrel Princess Purple. My paints are starting to get dry. I just don't have time to get paints out and clean up the mess, and so I haven't been using them very much. So I'm hoping with my grid journaling that I will start using this stuff, using this before it all dries and I can't use it anymore. That's a nice light purple. It is Apple Barrel Lilac Mist. And then, of course, I always have this video I can come back to and say, And when I did that one, what was that? As long as it's not one of the watercolors. And then this one, did I do Lilac Mist? I did Lilac Mist. Lavender Sachet. I don't think I did. No, because it's very, very light. There we go. So those are my acrylic purples. And of course, I haven't mixed any. You can mix any color of purple with red and blue. It just depends on which reds and which blues you use and what you got. And then you can change them up. So I'm going to do some color mixing. Let me clean up this mess and I will come back. I'm going to show how I got some plum purple. You'd be surprised. So I'm going to pause and come right back. Okay, so I am back to mix up some purple. I have red and bright blue, and this makes a really good purple. So equal parts of red and blue make purple. So let me put some of that in here. There's some blue. I'm not going to do a ton of paint because then I have to figure out what to do with it. And then equal amounts of red. And then mix that all together. To get this wonderful purple. And that's 50-50. So this is what you get. It's a rich, dark purple. It almost looks black. If you were to add black to that, it would be darker. So let me just put a little bit of this over here and add just a smidgen of black so you can see it does get darker. I'm just going to put a drop, and I put way too much. Oh dear. Let me mix it over here. And now it really looks black. I need to clean out that black. So this is what it looks like with black. It's really a rich, dark, dark, dark purple. And I didn't grab my water. All right, so let me get my water real fast. All right, my water here. And I've got this on my brush. So let me add a little water to it so you can actually see that there's some purple to that black. All right. And I should really clean that off. So I'm going to come over here and that same purple that I made, I'm going to add some white to it so you can see it get a little bit lighter. Just a drop this time, please. There's just a drop. And then you get this lighter purple. And if you add another drop, it gets even lighter. So you can adjust the kind of color that you want. This is a really cool purple. It's a really nice purple. And it just gets a little bit lighter when you add just a little bit, not a squirt like I did for the black. And there's another bit of white. So it gets really light. And it can go white, even whiter. There's a bunch of white right here. We take just a little bit of the purple so you can see how light you can actually get with it. And when you're mixing colors, it's really nice to be able to get dark all the way down to lights like that. Okay, so that is just normal purple, light, and dark. You can add a little bit of gray to that to make it a little bit darker instead of black. It just depends on how much darker you want it. So that is that. And you can get a purple like that if you mix a light blue and pink. So it just depends on what kind of blue you use, what kind of pink you use, what kind of color you're going to get. So it's kind of fun to experiment with it. So let me go back to this purple that I made with a brand new brush. And to get a plum color, we're going to start with this color. Add a little bit of red. Not too much. I'm going to do one drop at a time. Since I'm mixing such small amounts, it doesn't take very much. Let me mix that all up. And it gets to be a little bit more of a plum color. One more drop. Oops, that was way more than just a drop. We'll speed it along a little bit. So you can see it's a really nice plum color with that. I should have saved some of that and added blue to it so you could see what happens with the blue. But it's a really nice plum color. So let me add a little bit of white to that. Lighten it up a little bit so you can kind of see the color a little bit better. So that's what that looks like. A little bit more white makes it even lighter. And then you can add black to it as well. So I have all that black over there. Maybe I should use some of it. I add a touch of black. I added too much black. You get this gray color because I added too much black. So it's just kind of fun to add little bits of color to these So I've got gray going on this brush. So I'm going to mix a little gray into this purple, this light purple here. And then you get this wonderful lilac, I'm not sure, grayish purple, which is way different than the plum. I should probably put that on here because it's darker color of that. You can tell a little bit more black to this. It gets to be a little bit like a purple gray, which might be a color that you need. So let's go back and let me clean this mess up. I'll come right back. Okay, so let's go back and do another mix. Start with blue, do 50-50, come back to that great purple. Got a situation going on here with this purple, this blue. Let's get some dried paint. That's what's going on. All right. Get this out of my way. And then some red. To make that really fabulous purple. I think it needs a little bit more red. Just a dot. Oh, of course, I put too much in. Let's see if we can get a good purple going on. Nope, I put too much red in. It is a different color than what I had before. So every time you mix something different. You really like it. It's hard to, you just have to add just little tiny bits to get the exact same color that you want. So a little bit more blue. I've got paint all over my hands now. There we go. That's a really cool purple. Let me just add a little bit over here and add some white to it so you can see how cool it is. Got some water on there. What a great purple. And then I'm going to add some more blue to make the opposite of plum. What is the opposite of plum? What do they call that color? A little bit more blue. Change it again. Guess it's grape. Is it grape colored? Add some white to that so you can see it. Look at that. I love that color. That's a really nice color. I like all purples. Who am I kidding? Add a little bit more blue. Get a blueberry. It's getting to be really, really on the blue side now. Let's with a little bit of white to it. So it just depends on what kind of purple you want and what you do with it. You can add black to it, make it darker. Just tweak it. If you're looking for a really precise color, just tweak one drop of paint at a time, and you will eventually get to where you want to get to. So that's the blue purples. Compared to the red purples, minus that little blue splotch. And purple with white and black to it. I mean, they're all so different, but they're all purple. So that is my purple experiment. I got paint on the bottom of that. All the different hues of purple. I've got quite a few to choose from, and I can do quite a few different color combinations with other colors. And so I look forward to messing around with purple with my grid journaling. Hope this was helpful for anyone who's trying to mix colors. There's on Instagram, or you can even look it up on Google, how do I get a plum color? How do I get this color? How do I get, and of course I don't know the names of all of them, so it's hard to look up something if you don't know exactly what color. I think this is grape, but you could look up various shades of purple and find the one that you want to figure out how to make. And it gives you a percentage, put 50-50 or 70-30 to get that kind of color, and what colors to mix to get them. There's also, if you're looking for different color combinations, there's also sites that just deal with color combinations and different hues and shades of each color. So if you want to look that up, it's kind of fun to see what kind of color combinations. Usually it's for home decorating, but there's some generic ones that just have interesting color combinations, and it's fun to look at those and to have something to play around with. So I hope this was fun. Thanks for watching.